Hey you guys, welcome back to Racket City Yardstead. So today, for me at least anyway, it's Labor Day. We're into September and it's officially meteorological fall. And I recently harvested my squash. Now, some of my winter squash, they looked a little gnarly. One of them had some bug damage that was starting to mold, so we've actually already eaten that one. But this one came off the plant without its stem, and so it just won't store very well that way. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to make a lovely fall dish and use up some of my squash. So we're gonna peel this, get it all chopped up and roasted along with some onion and bacon, and then we're gonna make a salad with it. I did, while we're at it, let's let the squash stay on the counter and not roll away. I did want to show you guys the fermented onions while we're at it. If you were with me in the last video, we got these all chopped up and in a salt brine for them to ferment. They're so bubbly and that brine color is beautiful. And they should basically taste like pickled onions. So let's give it a try. Yep. They have that tang like a pickled onion. They're still nice and crunchy. This is definitely a winner. So if you are interested in making these, I'll link that video below. But now, onto our squash. So the first thing I need to do is put some gloves on. I don't know about you guys, but I actually react pretty badly to handling raw winter squash. It happens to me if I handle a lot of zucchini too. But my hands end up with a really funky texture. I've read that it's related to an enzyme in the squash, but it doesn't happen to everybody. Although I did read one time that that enzyme is, it's actually used in like facial peels for, I guess, anybody who wants to use a facial peel, but generally they're marketed to women. But I found that really interesting because once my hands go from the weird texture they get, they definitely peel and then become nice and soft. So I can understand why that's a thing. And I am also in a Facebook group where people talk about gardening. And just today, I think, I saw somebody asking about what was happening to their hands. And several people told them that they had that happen to them out of the blue. They never had their hands react to squash before. And one day they just did. So gloves for the win. Just get this all nice and peeled up. All right, so now that our squash is all peeled up, I'm gonna get it chopped up into nice bite-sized bits. Get the center cleaned out. Find a nice sturdy position to cut it in half from. Normally, I would save seeds from things like my squash plants. I had a terrible time this year getting my squash plants to germinate. I don't know if my seeds are just too old or what was going on really. But I ended up buying a 6-pack of plants at a local nursery. And all it said on it was that they were butternuts. They didn't tell me what variety. And so I don't know if these are some kind of hybrid or what. So I'm just going to discard these seeds. And then next year, I'm probably going to need to start with fresh squash seeds and see if that was my problem this year. But these are beautiful squash, so I'm really grateful for the plants I was able to get for a good price. I don't know if you guys could hear, but my oven just finished preheating. I have it preheated to 425 degrees. All right. I always find cutting squash a little precarious just because of that rounded nature of the stuff. Maybe I'll go this way and throw it everywhere. I feel like that's a theme in my videos, is I tend to throw food around. But we're just gonna cut it into little small pieces about this size. And then we'll get to the bacon and the onions. I was gonna mention, I do think cutting it across this way in the cavities portion, seem to work better than trying to cut the whole thing long way. The squash is all cut up and on my cookie sheet, and so now I'm going to get to the onion. I'm going to chop this up fairly fine. Lots of times when I make recipes, I try and keep everything sort of uniform in size, but I kind of prefer the onion a little bit smaller than the squash in this salad recipe. Now, what we're doing here with the squash and onions and bacon, that would be a great side dish just all by itself. But we like to put it on top of spinach and add blue cheese and then add a maple Dijon dressing. And it just makes a really lovely salad that you could eat for a main course if you wanted, or like tonight, we're going to eat it with some air fried salmon. So versatile, you can do a lot of different things with this. I'm actually going to bring my cookie sheet over here rather than try and take my onions to the cookie sheet. So our three main ingredients on this tray, the last one we need is bacon. I know everybody's got their own way of cutting bacon and whatever. Some people like to use a knife and cut it from frozen if you're going to do small pieces of bacon. I just use kitchen shears is my preferred method. So we're going to grab about 4 pieces of bacon here. That might be 5. Use our kitchen shears and just cut it in strips. And I will go through with my fingers and pull these all apart so they cook nice and evenly. But I like the crunch you get from the bacon in this dish, but I also like that kind of smoky flavor that it imparts to the onions and the squash. So I'm just going to get this bacon chopped all up and separate it out, and then we'll be ready to season up our tray of veggies and bacon. I got my hands all cleaned up from handling this bacon, and now we're going to season this. I do this pretty simply, just some black pepper, some garlic powder, salt, and I also like to add a little bit of chipotle powder because I just like that little bit of heat with the squash. I think it's a nice counterbalance. And then this bacon is going to put off a lot of fat. So I don't want to add too much. So I'm just going to use a spray avocado oil and add just a little bit to get it going in the oven before that bacon starts rendering down. Now we'll just give it a good toss and it will be ready to go in the oven. So this is going to go in the oven for about 25 minutes. Sometimes I find with really fresh winter squash that hasn't really had time to cure that it needs longer, and I just kind of have to keep an eye on it. But if you are using winter squash from the grocery store, that 25 minutes should be pretty close to how long you need it to cook. While our squash is cooking, I thought we could get going on our salad dressing. So we're making a maple Dijon vinaigrette. We're going to start with half a cup. No, I'm sorry. We're going to start with a quarter cup of oil. Just any light flavored oil will work. About 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. About a tablespoon of maple syrup. And if you guys have been with me, you know I'm really bad about getting measuring spoons out, so I just eyeball. About a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. I'm about out of this, so this might give me a bit of a hard time. Here we go. The original recipe calls for minced garlic. I'm just going to use a little bit of garlic powder, about half a teaspoon. Some cracked pepper. And some salt. And I will link this original recipe down below if you guys are interested, because I know there's a printable copy. And then, as with all of my favorite salad dressing recipes, I'm going to put a lid on and shake it up to get it all emulsified. Quick and easy. My favorite kind of recipe. So now we're just waiting on our squash to be finished, and I am also going to get my salmon cooking. So I hadn't really planned on including the salmon in this video, but why not? It's simple and really tasty, and maybe somebody else will want to make it. So, oh, I just shot soap all over my arm. I had a little interlude of having to clean up after my soap dispenser shot soap all the way up my arm. But I put that salmon fillet down in my air fryer basket. And in this bowl, I just mixed together a little bit of Dijon and maple syrup. I added some salt, pepper, and garlic powder to it. I'm just using my basting brush here to baste it on top. You can season your salmon however you want. I just thought that I would try and keep the flavor similar to our salad so that they'd pair nicely together. But so this is going to go into the air fryer at 375 for about 12 minutes. Depending on how thick your salmon fillet is, it may need a minute less or a minute more. You know, it just varies a little bit, but I'm going to get this in the air fryer. Our squash and bacon and onions are all out of the onion and nice and fork tender. So we're ready to make our salad. So we're definitely using the help of the grocery store with this salad. We're going to use baby spinach as our base. This is organic pre-washed baby spinach. Not something I can grow this time of year here in Alabama. So we'll get our bowls nice and loaded up. And then we'll top our spinach with some of our squash. And like I said, this squash and onions and bacon is a great side dish all on its own if you didn't want to make a salad. It'd probably be great with, you know, as a side, and if you had like Brussels sprouts as another side, and some kind of roast or a roasted chicken, or all kinds of ideas. These nice, load it up. Okay. Then we're gonna add some blue cheese to this. It would probably be really good with feta if you don't like blue cheese. Or just maybe even Parmesan, if that would be your preference. Or if you're dairy free, you could just skip the cheese altogether and it would still be delicious. And then finally, I'm gonna give our dressing another little shake and drizzle our salads. And there we have it, a really yummy fall salad. I hope you guys will try this. I'm gonna get the salmon out of the air fryer and give you guys a peek at that as well. So this is really and truly just the way we live. I'm just gonna add chunks of this perfectly cooked salmon fillet into our salad bowls. You don't want salmon on your salad, you could put it on a plate and that would work just as well. But it's perfectly cooked and nice and flaky. I'm sure it's gonna be so good with our salads. Now that I realize my head wasn't completely in the shot, let's give our salad a try. It might not feel like fall outside yet, but this is definitely a fall dish. That sweet squash with the tang of the blue cheese, that little bit of chipotle and the smokiness of the bacon, it's so good. Let's try the salmon. I've actually never done Dijon and maple on my salmon before, but since it was the flavors of our dressing, it made sense to me. It's a winner. So I hope you guys will give this a try. Get your fall flavors on as we're going into that time of year. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.